Welcome into today's edition of College Football Smothered and Covered. My name is Barrett Salee. Appreciate you checking out the show. Got a big show today. My good friend, my colleague over at Outkick, Trey Wallace from Trey Wallace Show, Trey Wallace Podcast over on Outkick. Going to join us. We're going to talk a little bit about Tennessee, not just the football program, but also the athletic department as a whole. We'll also go out west. We'll talk about USC and where the Trojans stand going in to the Big Ten. Hey, this show brought to you by Bet Online. Go to betonline.ag. They've got all of your sports covered, whether it be stats, news, live lines, everything over at Bet Online. Hey, when you're done, go over to their online casino, play some blackjack, maybe some poker, maybe one of their 150 slot options. They got all of it over at Bet Online. Go to Bet Online, use the promo code BLEAV, B-L-E-A-V. That's B-L-E-A-V. You'll get 50% off your first deposit. Bet Online, the game starts here. Joined now by a good friend and actually my colleague, I guess, over at Outkick. You know him at Outkick. You also know him from the Trey Wallace Podcast, powered by Outkick, Mr. Trey Wallace. What's up, dude?
Man, I'm good. I think I'm still trying to catch up on sleep from Omaha. I was just, man, after that title game and you know how it is, man, you're trying to get stories up and whatnot. And I think I fell asleep. I finished my last story at 3. I think I fell asleep around 4. Then I had to be up at 6 for a flight. So and then I had the 5-hour delay in Chicago because of weather,
of course,
like usual. Yeah, so.
Of course. And nothing happened the day after the College World Series ended. No, nothing.
No, it was dead, right?
There wasn't a Tommy Tuberville Pine Box incident or anything,
which is just amazing. I can't wait to talk about it. Everything that's gone into this is just amazing. So everything's going good, and we're getting ready for. In 3 weeks we'll have media days starting up, and it never stops.
It doesn't. And before we talk about football, look, I Jim Schlossnagle, I'm one of those people that say, there's no good answer to, hey, are you going to go take job X?
Right.
But that was a really bad answer, saying A&M was going to, he took A&M to be his last job. That is a terrible way to answer that question.
Yeah, and I think, and I give a lot of credit to Robert Zane from Texags. We both know Billy Lucci for asking the question. I think that if there were probably more national media members inside the room, maybe the question gets brought up a little bit earlier. But they were all all on the field, with Vitello and the crew, whatever. So credit to him for the question. And then, the fact that, and it calls him out and selfish and whatnot. And it goes on this rant that I love Texas A&M and I left my family to take this job. No, your family stayed back where they could finish some school and stuff like that before you took it. So I got pissed off because he used his family as a shield for the answer.
Exactly.
That's where I got pissed. I was, okay. And then he wants to, and then he says, write that. And then he walks over to the reporter and says, I'm never talking to you again. And it's like, dude, you're a, what, 55-year-old, 56-year-old man, and you're acting like a petulant child because you got called out and Texas A&M officials knew that night that you were going to be leaving. And it's just so, and everything that has gone on since then, I spoke with a couple of coaches around the country, a few in the SEC, and they all told me they knew something was up before the SEC tournament that he was leaving. And so the fact that, Barrett, we got from SEC tournament, which was right around spring meetings, of getting my days, but a month and a half ago, pretty much, a month and a half ago, and the fact that we got to Monday night and all of this transpires and you get into Tuesday, it's like it was the most well-hidden secret I think that Texas was doing. In the fact that A&M at the same time, I'm sure they were going back and forth with numbers. I know they were with numbers, but the fact that he just, and then he gets up on that press conference in Austin and says, I wish I had time to speak with the team and whatnot. Brother, man, you had a 2-hour flight from Omaha. You had post game back at the hotel because they didn't fly out to the next day. And by the way, you walked into the facility with a crowd of people clapping you and cheering you on. You're signing autographs.
Had plenty of time.
Right, dude, you had the time. So I think a lot of this is we see this a lot, okay, in college sports. Like, coach is going to take another job, and whatever. The way he handled it was horrible. Makes him look like an idiot. No offense, makes him look like an idiot. Makes him look selfish. And I think at the end of the day, also, you're going to see some players from A&M that have already entered the portal. They're going to follow him to Texas. And according to a lot of folks I've spoken with, there's potential that some of those players maybe knew what was going on a little bit ago. And that's why, they're heading over to. Oh, and by the way, the transfer portal stuff, I was told that the guys that he was recruiting to Texas A&M for the transfer portal, they landed one player from Penn. I think it was two players, whatnot. But I was told there's a reason why they hadn't set up residency yet in College Station, because the move was coming.
What a mess. Now, in Schlossnagel's defense, he told Zane that he's not going to talk to him again because he's not going to be the head coach at Texas A&M. Right. 3D chess, 4D chess.
And shout out to Olin Buchanan, who drove over yesterday and got into the press conference and asked him the question. So it's like, okay, good. We have not heard the end of this. There's going to be more stuff that's coming out. Hopefully I write something today that's going to that whenever we're recording this comes out.
Teaser.
Yeah. So this is unfortunately, there's a lot of mess that goes into this. So this is not done by any chance. And just makes, to put a cap on it, it just makes this Texas A&M rivalry. We thought football was going to be wild. I promise you, I will be at the baseball series next season when that goes down. So
there's no doubt. There's no doubt.
Coaching
Olin
season's
Buchanan,
crazy.
Star of Varsity Blues, Olin Buchanan. Although he doesn't like me very much. So
it happens. Whatever. It's what it is, right?
Yeah. Well, apparently Texas A&M media didn't like people telling them that Jimbo Fisher sucks. I don't know. Maybe he actually does suck.
I don't know who could have called that after the first year.
Right, exactly. Texas A&M lost to Tennessee in the baseball national championship game. We're going to talk about Tennessee football. Nico Iamaleava. Yeah. I think that it's one of these conversations where, okay, he's getting all this hype. Is he Joe Milton? Because but some people fell into that trap this last offseason. Or is he Hendon Hooker, a guy who did not win a job twice?
Right.
But then did win the job from Joe Milton after Joe Milton lost it for a second time. I'm of the belief that Nico is more Hendon Hooker than he is Joe Milton, because I think the upside of his arm is way higher than it was for Joe Milton, who literally didn't have a changeup, didn't have a curveball. He could throw it out of the stadium. Good for him. But I think Nico's a little bit more polished.
Yeah, I do too. And I think that what you're going to see is kind of a mixture of both. I think you're going to see Nico's got a hell of an arm, yes. And I'm not saying Hendon didn't either. We all saw passes that Hendon made. But you're going to see more quick release out of Nico compared to both of them as well. And I think running ability, the kid's got wheels like Hendon, and I think that's going to pay off. Now, with his frame, you got to be careful.
Yes, you do.
Because, he might be 215 soaking wet, but he's so tall. So we'll see what they do when it comes to RPOs and whatnot. But yes, I think that in my opinion, and looking around the country at different quarterbacks and trying to put them up against, I'm trying to compare Dylan Gabriel to what Bo Nix is going to be. You know what I mean? Like at that school. So I look at Tennessee, and I think Nico has that opportunity, and it was really good for him to get time last year in the bowl game, taking reps with the twos whenever he could, because the twos becomes the ones, this season. And so I think that they have a pretty high ceiling when it comes to quarterback. I'm not saying they're going to win some national championship or the SEC, but I do think you're in a lot better spot when it comes to the quarterback position this year than you were last year with Joe Milton. And I understand, Barrett, why people were excited for Joe, because they thought, okay,
I never did.
Well, I know. I think it was not because of tangibles. I think it was because he had spent 3 years in the system
Sure.
that maybe things would have gone a little bit different because of his time and whatnot. The passing, he reminded me of Ben Joyce, for Tennessee, throwing 102 miles per hour, every
Solid
time he could. So to answer your question, I think that we're getting a little bit of mixture of both of these guys, and I think that's going to pay off. Josh Heupel knows exactly what he wants out of this quarterback and how they're going to play it this year. And the kid also, by the way, not a kid anymore. He's been in the system long enough now. He knows that playbook, and I think that's key as well.
Plus, the playbook for Josh Heupel, very, very quarterback friendly. Not to say it's easy, but very quarterback friendly. And so,
spread out, go 4 wide, and
run. Right. Throw and run. Throw and run. That's very complicated football these days. So I think there's these ideas that he's a dark horse Heisman contender, and then everyone goes straight to Joe Milton. It's like, no, look, he's on a dynamic offense. He's going to put up video game numbers, and he's going to be on a team that's 9-3, 10-2. And to me,
run the playoffs, like making a run for that 12th seed.
Well, and that's what it was 2 years ago, too. I think people forget, like, they had easily made the 14 playoff, even without Hendon, in the last couple of games. So to me, I think that for Tennessee, and this is going to be as, an overarching question. We saw Tennessee win the national baseball championship in baseball. We know what their basketball team is capable of. Josh Heupel has the football team back, not necessarily what it was, 20, 25 years ago, but they're consistently winning. Is Tennessee's athletic department finally stable? And how could it be considered one of the most successful athletic departments in the country at this point?
I think it's top 5. I think it's
so crazy thinking about that.
Like, overall,
it is insane. Right. But I think you're right. It's just crazy to say that.
And it's wild to think where they were before Danny White stepped foot on campus. That was 3 years ago, guys. Just 3 years ago. It takes a lot to turn around an athletic department. And I think that, okay, you already had Barnes in place. You had Vitello in place when he got here. I could go off and name softball, Olympic sports, and all that stuff where they're flourishing as well, by the way. And then you bring in Josh, and it's like everything is starting to come together at Tennessee. And it's because, and I just continue to go back to where they were in the deficit they had. They didn't have any money in the reserve. They were dead broke. They
had no football players after Pruitt.
Right. They couldn't get a damn loan from Regions Bank if they had tried to 3 years ago. And now
they couldn't even get gas from Pilot Flying J. It was that bad.
Exactly. So now you look at it, Barrett, and, Tony Vitello and the baseball team winning a national championship, it takes it to that next step. And then you've got basketball, what they did last year. And, and I'll just say, like the NBA draft, I don't follow the NBA, but for them to get Dalton Connect, in the first round and go to the Lakers, like, you're building up things. And I think where they are right now is, and I talked to Danny White post-game on the field in Omaha, and I said, okay, like this is the next step in you guys building an athletic department that is, compete with everybody in the country. And he says, no, we're already past that. Like we're going up that hill. We are right. And the amount of money that they're raising, Barrett, as well, it's astonishing to me to see it. And that's why I think with everything going on in college athletics and revenue sharing and athletic departments having to cut budgets, you both know that's coming. I think Tennessee's done a good enough job in raising money, selling season tickets. Dude, they got a 7,000 person wait list to get baseball tickets, and you're building this new stadium. It's like everything is coming together at Tennessee when 3 years ago, man, you would have just thought this program is going to be in the dumpster for a decade. So I give credit to everybody at that university for turning this thing around. And to be honest with you, it wouldn't have started without Donnie Plowman, the chancellor, Randy Boyd, the president, and then now Danny White. So it goes further than football, but I look at football and say, okay, they are not slowing down on renovations to Neyland Stadium. They're going to turn that into it was already cool. Now it's going to be beautiful and cool at the same time.
Never beautiful. It's been cool.
It's been
But
cool.
you walk around Neyland Stadium, you're like, oh, this place is kind of dingy.
You get around the backside and you're like, man, those classrooms have been there for 80 years.
Yeah, and you don't want to go in there because you don't know what's living in there.
No. So long answer short, they've really turned it around, and you're starting to see them with other big time programs again in college athletics. And this is without a national championship in football, without a national championship in college basketball. So the way that they're doing it is impressing me.
They need to get that Battle of Bristol back. Just saying.
Yeah, I enjoyed the hell out of that.
Look, I know fans couldn't see it, and I know fans were pissed off, but it looked awesome.
Right. Just look up at the dang board up top. That's why they put it in. I mean, it was.
Well, that's what fans do anyway, right?
If what do you think they're doing in Jerry World? They're not watching.
Yeah, if you're at the other end zone, like, you're not watching the game. You can't see what the hell's going on. So
why do you think Auburn put in that big ass video board?
Exactly. and it's fantastic.
Right. It's beautiful. So, hell, Alabama put 3 different boards inside the stadium. So, yeah, you know where I'm going with that one. It is.
Need to have that back, though. Need to have that back. It was cool. It was very cool. All right, let's go across the country.
Yeah.
Because USC, I've been of the belief for the last couple of years now, I guess year and a half, that Lincoln is a fraud, that Lincoln Riley is all sizzle, no steak, that what we saw at Oklahoma when he was there, being able to get to the playoff, is the ceiling for him, that he doesn't care about defense. And that's not going to change. Even if you make all of these changes from a staff standpoint, you get rid of Grinch, you hire D'Anton Lynn, it's still a philosophical problem.
Yeah. And
going into the Big Ten, you couldn't ask for a worse time for USC football. Am I right or am I wrong?
I think you're right. And I go back to the fact that, Lincoln didn't want to fire Alex Grinch. He was
not at all.
He was ready to go to the mats for Alex Grinch.
It's like that soccer movie, Kicking and Screaming. I mean, it was bad.
Jacked up on cappuccino and coffee and didn't want to do anything. Like he that told me a lot of things, that he didn't want to adapt, but he was forced to by the athletic department saying, hey, bro, like, we brought you here. We're paying you. We're going to make this it. You got to do something different on defense here. And I think that's going to be one of the things that holds them up. It's like, okay, maybe you can score 40 points a game. That's cool. But if your defense is giving up 50, what's the difference here? And I think overall, Lincoln Riley, he's got to prove something to me, man, because the talent that they had on offense last year and the way that they came up short, it's not – I'm not going to put all the blame on Caleb Williams for last year.
I wouldn't, but there was no reason to.
Right. And some of the play calling was weird to me, and how they were running the offense, and I just think overall, I think folks thought, okay, here comes this guy from Oklahoma, big swagger, leaves him in the middle of the night, coming out to LA. He's an LA guy now. I think that they thought he was going to be the immediate savior of the Trojans football program. And it turns out you get stuff like we saw last year, and I even go back to a game that I was at when USC visited Colorado and playing, Dion and Shador,
yep.
And the fact that they were up, but then it was at defense again, Shador Sanders and them come back and they make it a game, coming down pretty much to the final possession in the last minute and a half. And that's when I was like, okay, I don't know if this team has the ability to put the knife into the chest. And so,
they don't.
Right. And so I look at them right now, and if you ask me, it's like, okay, is USC going to make the playoffs? Well, no, because you look at the Big Ten and who they have to go up against next year in those defenses, and even with offenses. Okay, you got to play around with Michigan and Ohio State. By the way, Oregon's going to be right there with Dan Lanning.
Yep, they're going to be awesome.
Fish with Washington. I'm just saying, I think rude awakening maybe is the wrong word, but I don't think they're going to roll into the Big Ten and all of a sudden just have success. I think it's going to be a rough sledding for them.
I agree. All right, before I let you out of here, we're going to do rapid fire. You have to answer these. I'm not going to have them questions. They're going to be teams or coaches or players.
Okay. All right.
5 words or less.
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Deion Sanders.
Oh, man. good for the school.
That's it. You can't go any further. That's it.
Good for the school, but leaving after next year. Okay,
That's more than 5 words. That's more than 5
okay.
words.
Good.
Penn
good
State.
for the. Leave it at that. Good for the school. He's making them a lot of money. That's it.
All right, Penn State.
Underachieving. Better win title.
There you go. Florida. Just laugh. That's it.
Real estate agent.
Oh, I love that. All right, last one.
I could have come back and said Jaden Rashada lawsuit, but I held off.
That's good too. That one's good too.
Yeah.
I like that one a lot. All right, last one.
Yeah.
Dabo Sweeney.
Resurrection is coming.
Yes, I agree. Love it. I love it. Trey, let everybody know how they can get in touch with you.
Yeah, man. Follow me on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, at Trey Wallace _ Follow all the work at Outkick.com, where you follow Barrett Sallee as well.
Correct.
And yeah, man, we're pumping it out, and it's a lot of fun and getting ready for the unofficial start of football season coming up soon.
That's right. Trey, appreciate it.
Thanks, buddy. Have a great day. Appreciate you having me.
That'll do it for this edition of College Football Smothered and Covered. Appreciate you checking out the show. Of course, we are brought to you by Bet Online. The game starts here. Go to Bet Online and get 50% off your first deposit by using promo code BLEAV, BLEAV. Until next time, college football fans, have a great Wednesday. Or what's today? Wednesday? Today's Wednesday. No, it's Thursday. That's what happens in the summertime. You have no idea what the hell is going on. Have a great Thursday. We'll talk to you soon.